important an affair, going from place to place, scraping away loose sticks and pebbles, and trying for comfort by making many changes, while the shepherd casts himself down anywhere, seemingly the least skilled of all rest seekers. His food, too, even when he has all he wants, is usually far from delicate, either in kind or cooking. Beans, bread of any sort, bacon, mutton, dried peaches, and sometimes potatoes and onions, make up his bill of fare, the two latter articles being regarded as luxuries on account of their weight, as compared with the nourishment they contain. A half sack or so of each may be put into the pack in setting out from the home ranch, and in a few days they are done. Beans are the main standby, portable, wholesome, and capable of going far, besides being easily cooked, though curiously enough a great deal of mystery is supposed to lie about the bean pot. No two cooks quite agree on the methods of making beans do their best, and after petting and coaxing and nursing the savoury mess, well oiled and mellowed with bacon boiled into the heart of it, the proud cook will ask, after dishing out a quart or two for trial, "Well, how do you like my beans?" as if by no possibility could they be like any other beans cooked in the same way, but must needs possess some special virtue of which he alone is master. Molasses, sugar, or pepper may be used to give desired flavours, or the first water may be poured off, and a spoonful or two of ashes or soda added to dissolve or soften the skins more fully, according to various tastes and notions. But, like casks of wine, no two potfuls are exactly alike to every palate. Some are supposed to be spoiled by the moon, by some unlucky day, by the beans having been grown on soil not suitable, or the whole year may be to blame as not favourable for beans. Coffee, too, has its marvels in the camp kitchen, but not so many and not so inscrutable as those that beset the bean pot. A low complacent grunt follows a mouthful drawn in with a gurgle, and the remark cast forth aimlessly, "That's good coffee." Then another gurgling sip, and repetition of the judgment, "Yes, sir, that is good coffee." As to tea, there are but two kinds, weak and strong, the stronger the better. The only remark heard is, "That tea's weak," otherwise it is good enough and not worth mentioning. If it has been boiled an hour or two, or smoked on a pitchy fire, no matter. Who cares for a little tannin or creosote? They make the black beverage all the stronger and more attractive to tobacco tanned palates. Sheep camp bread, like most California camp bread, is baked in Dutch ovens, some of it in the form of yeast powder biscuit, an unwholesome sticky compound leading straight to dyspepsia. The greater part, however, is fermented with sour dough, a handful from each batch being saved and put away in the mouth of the flour sack to inoculate the next. The oven is simply a cast iron pot, about 5 inches deep and from 12 to 18 inches wide. After the batch has been mixed and kneaded in a tin pan, the oven is slightly heated and rubbed with a piece of tallow or pork rind. The dough is then placed in it, pressed out against the sides, and left to rise. When ready for baking, a shovelful of coals is spread out by the side of the fire, and the oven set upon them, while another shovelful is placed on the top of the lid, which is raised from time to time, to see that the requisite amount of heat is being kept up. With care, good bread may be made in this way, though it is liable to be burned, or to be sour, or raised too much, and the weight of the oven is a serious objection. At last Don Delaney comes down the long glen. Hunger vanishes, we turn our eyes to the mountains, and tomorrow we go climbing towards Cloudland. Never, while anything is left of me, shall this first camp be forgotten. It has fairly grown into me, not merely as memory pictures, but as part and parcel of mind and body alike. The deep hopper-like hollow with its majestic trees, through which all the wonderful nights the stars poured their beauty. The flowery wilderness of the high steep slope towards Brown's Flat, and its bloom fragrance descending at the close of the still days. The embowered river reaches, with their multitude of voices making melody. The stately flow and rush and glad exulting on-sweeping currents caressing their dipping sedge leaves and bushes and mossy stones, swirling in pools, dividing against little flowery islands. The flowery wildness of the high steep slope towards Brown's Flat, and its bloom fragrance descending at the close of the still days. The embowered river reaches, with their multitude of voices making melody. The stately flow and rush and glad exulting on-sweeping currents caressing the dipping sedge leaves and bushes and mossy stones, swirling in pools, dividing against little flowery islands, breaking grey and white here and there, ever rejoicing, yet with deep solemn undertones recalling the ocean. The brave little bird ever beside them, singing with sweet human tones among the waltzing foam bells, and like a blessed evangel explaining God's love. And the Pilot Peak ridge, its long withdrawing slopes, gracefully modelled and braided, reaching from climate to climate, feathered with trees that are the kings of their race, their ranks nobly marshalled to view, spire above spire, crown above crown, waving their long leafy arms, tossing their cones like ringing bells. Blessed sun-fed mountaineers, rejoicing in their strength, every tree tuneful, a harp for the winds and the sun. The hazel and buckthorn pastures of the deer, the sun-beaten brows purple and yellow with mint and goldenrods, carpeted with camebatia, humming with bees. And the dawns and sunrises and sundowns of these mountain days, the rose light creeping higher among the stars, changing to daffodil yellow, the level beams bursting forth, streaming across the ridges, touching pine after pine, awakening and warming all the mighty host to do gladly their shining day's work. The great sun-gold noons, the alabaster cloud mountains, the landscape beaming with consciousness like the face of a god, the sunsets when the trees stood hushed, awaiting their good-night blessings, divine, enduring, unwastable wealth. July 8. Now away we go toward the topmost mountains. Many still small voices, as well as the noon thunder, are calling, "Come higher." Farewell, blessed dell, woods, gardens, streams, birds, squirrels, lizards, and 1,000 others. Farewell, farewell. Up through the woods the hoofed locusts streamed beneath a cloud of brown dust. Scarcely were they driven 100 yards from the old corral ere they seemed to know that at last they were going to new pastures, and rushed wildly ahead, crowding through gaps in the brush, jumping, tumbling like exulting, hurrahing flood waters escaping through a broken dam. A man on each flank kept shouting advice to the leaders, who in their famishing condition were behaving like Gadarene swine. 2 other drivers were busy with stragglers, helping them out of brush tangles. The Indian, calm, alert, silently watched for wanderers likely to be overlooked. The 2 dogs ran here and there, at a loss to know what was best to be done, while the Don, soon far in the rear, was trying to keep in sight of his troublesome wealth. As soon as the boundary of the old eaten-out range was passed, the hungry horde suddenly became calm, like a mountain stream in a meadow. Thenceforth they were allowed to eat their way as slowly as they wished, care being taken only to keep them headed toward the summit of the Merced and Tuolumne divide. Soon the 2,000 flattened paunches were bulged out with sweet pea vines and grass, and the gaunt, desperate creatures more like wolves than sheep, became bland